Alternative 3B has 8 primary features, 5 of which involve storm surge gates and 3 are shoreline-based only measures. I'll go through each of those 8 in detail. The 2 largest by far are storm surge gate system, along with risk reduction features, which aren't shown on this graphic. I'll show them in a minute, that cover the backside of Staten Island and northern coastally affected New Jersey, the inner portions of it, the area shaded here in green, with storm surge gates on the Kilvan Cole and the Arthur Kill Channel at their mouths, barely seeable on this graphic. Another large feature is southern Brooklyn and Queens encompassing Jamaica Bay, which has been studied and identified by the Corps numerous times previously as the best approach for how to deal with coastal storm risk in that area, involving a very long stretch of shoreline-based measures and storm surge gates through that section. Then we have 3 shoreline-based measures in Jersey City, downtown Manhattan, East Harlem, and then we have smaller storm surge gates on Flushing Creek in Queens, Newtown Creek between Queens and Brooklyn, and Gowanus Creek. There's also a few induced flooding mitigation features, so one area doesn't get impacted adversely from features done in some other area. Breezy Point community is one. A few locations around Kips Bay and along the East River and Harlem River in the South Bronx. In the alternatives that have storm surge barriers in them, Alternative 3B actually has the least amount of induced flooding features, which kind of speaks to how well it kind of fits within the estuary. It also complements very nicely a lot of those other projects that the Colonel showed on that prior slide that are underway and included as part of Alternative 1. So there's not a lot of redundancy with this plan.
What if you took the traditional school day and flipped it on its head? Not literally, of course, but having lessons offered at night at home and homework done by day in the classroom.
These ones, how would I do it? So the legislative branch makes the laws.
Now lectures are recorded and posted online.
The American Civil War lasted from 1861 to 1865.
Or teachers can assign outside videos from the popular Khan Academy and TED Talks.
Pretty small, yeah.
Students watch these videos as homework outside of class.
Why do you say it's plutonium?
In class, students now do what was once considered homework, assignments designed to test learning comprehension. Clintondale teachers say this allows more time for one-on-one help and often encourages students to collaborate in problem solving.
So what we're actually doing here is making a building within a building.
by no accident that Fritz Lang was an architect before he was a filmmaker. It's by no accident that Calvino talks about architecture. And when we started to take a series of texts in 1972, 1973, 74, and use them as our programs for architecture, Calvino, Hesse, Poe, Kafka, Joyce, it was a way to say that perhaps the narrative of literature could have a parallels in the actions of architecture, that the unfolding of a series of actions through a building was the program. And many of us, and John Daydock above many others, have wondered about this unfolding of events which suggested the unfolding of architecture. To which extent could the literary narrative shed light on the organization of events in building, whether called use, function, activities, and ultimately program? If writers could manipulate the structure of stories in the same way as they twist vocabulary and grammar, why couldn't architects do the same, organizing the program in a similarly objective manner? For if architects could self-consciously use such devices as repetition, distortion, or juxtaposition in the formal elaboration of walls, couldn't they do the same thing in terms of the activities that occurred within those very walls? Pole vaulting in the chapel, bicycling in the laundromat, skydiving in the elevator shaft. Raising these questions proved increasingly stimulating. Conventional organization of spaces could be matched to the most surrealistically absurd set of activities, or vice versa, the most intricate and perverse organization of spaces could accommodate the everyday of the average suburban family.
The way the mind relates to reality, action is fundamental. Motor nervous system and the sensory nervous system are massively coordinated, so much of your perception is oriented with action in mind. And of course, as I just said, you can't have your actions without perceptions. There's a psychologist named Gibson who made a lot out of this. Gibson points out that the standard literature is all about people seeing triangles, or it's as if they're looking through the keyhole of a door, and you have all these perceptual illusions that you can design. But in fact, in real life, you don't just see objects, but you see objects that you can act on. You see potential actions when you see an object. And Gibson's jargon for this was affordances. What Gibson says is that basically what you see is an affordance. With all other objects of the kind of useful objects in your vicinity, you see them in terms of the potential actions. You see affordances as opposed to colors and shapes.